Welcome to the Tactical Games Podcast. I'm here with Nate Horvath.
Nick, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you for getting your last name correct.
Yeah, we just went through an entire discussion about Hungary and the not having H's and
correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Only in the name of the country, and that's it.
Yeah. We'll never. That's the only H that's allowed to be used.
Will never be said again.
That makes sense now. Perfect. Well, thank you for coming on. We only allow people to come on the podcast that have competed in the sport. So you've competed quite a few times. I think you might be the only CEO that we have that's runs a company that's sponsored that has competed in our sport.
Awesome. I knew I was going to win something eventually. Can I get one of those really big, awesome trophy
yes.
things?
Yeah. It'll cost you, but you can definitely
absolutely send in the sponsorship.
So why don't you, for those that don't know, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, where you come from, and where you're at currently?
Sure. Yeah. So my name's Nate Horvath. As you mentioned, I'm the CEO of Sons of Liberty Gunworks. I've been in the firearms industry for just about 10 years now. Ran another business for about 8 years,
yep.
And then joined Sons just after SHOT Show this year. I've been talking to them for a while, and they've been asking me to come give them a hand. It's an exciting business that has a lot of potential, and I'm very, very excited to be there. I've been shooting their rifle in TAC games
yep.
for probably a little over a year and a half now, and so I came to know the brand through an experience as a customer
yep.
first, and then that led to getting to know Mike Michalski, who's the founder. And then getting more and more involved in the brand, and ultimately saying, yeah, gosh, I'll love to come join and see if we can take this to the next level.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome. So one of the things that I noticed when I met you, I think you and I have known each other for about 2 years now, was how different you were than a lot of the people that I met in the shooting industry. And I think it's because you've only been in it for 8 years.
Sure. I didn't know how I was supposed to be. So I just thought I'd be myself.
I mean, it was the same for me. Like I came in from a completely, maybe an adjacent industry,
yep.
But I didn't come up. I didn't learn how business in the shooting industry. So it was different for me. And I met you and I was like, oh, this is like a professional human being. This is this is a real person. He answers emails and responds and does the things that business people should do.
Well, so my background was a little different there from the beginning. I joined the Marine Corps after high school,
yep.
And then I went to college and got my
You're
CPA.
probably the only Marine that's ever been to college that isn't an officer.
Actually, I was just got a phone call from a friend of mine. He's the only other guy. He is his buddy of mine from boot camp, Kevin
yep.
McGuire, who's actually a partner at Goldman Sachs.
That's awesome.
He and I are the only two Marines that we know that went on from at least sort of that circa and on to college and then on to do something.
So you actually used your GI Bill? I think the rate of using a GI Bill for enlisted is like under 10%. It is nobody uses it.
Well, and clearly we didn't know what we were doing because we would have joined the Army when you get a lot more money than you do in the Marine Corps. It's the GI Bill and that's it. But anyway, so then went to college after that, got my CPA, went to work in one of these big accounting firms for a while, and ultimately back to business school at Stanford. And then after that, I was in the investment field for about 10 years before and then we bought a business in the firearms industry, which is what brought me into the industry.
Yep.
And I've really enjoyed it. It is different in many respects.
Than Goldman Sachs, I can't imagine.
Just marginally. But it's great that there's a really great community in the industry, especially I find that community to be even stronger in TAC games. It's one of the things I love about it is the people here, and I've shot some USPSA matches and a few other things here and there. But nothing's been like what I found, in this community. No,
that's awesome. I appreciate that. That's, I think that's the thing that we hang our hat on the most is how awesome the people are that are attracted to the sport. There's something about finding other people that are interested in doing hard things and willing to go after a pursuit, and I think it creates an awesome community. So I'm very happy, and I feel very fortunate to be a part of that as well. So for you, coming into the firearms industry at first, was it because for me, it was kind of a shock. I didn't really know where to turn. And I was like, okay, you and I were talking about meantime between failure earlier,
Yeah.
which is something that like I know is something that's considered in the firearms industry, but like how big of a transition was that for you to come over from investments, from being a CPA, from that business background into business associated with the firearms industry?
Yeah, the business piece was not an enormous transition, although there's some things that are really particular about the industry. It's highly regulated.
Yep.
And you can't use traditional advertising.
Right.
So a lot of that stuff's off limits to you. Half the country doesn't like what you do. So it's a really interesting place to be able to operate and figure out how can you be successful.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of tools that are available. The other thing is banking markets are shallow.
Right.
Insurance markets are shallow. So those things were all interesting puzzles to solve and work through.
Yeah.
But there's also some opportunity because there are a lot of businesses in the firearms industry that people are in the business because they love it.
Right.
And they may not have a business background, and they may have decided, I'm going to do this, I'm going to make this product, or I'm going to open this gun store because I love guns, I love firearms. Yep. And so there are not a lot of necessarily sophistication around marketing strategies, around how do you develop a relationship with your customer, how do you go to market, do you try to go direct to consumer, which of course with the firearms they have to go through an FFL,
right?
Do you use distribution?
Yep.
How do you establish a relationship with your customer? So a lot of really unique things about the industry that makes it a fun place to operate and figure out how to solve some problems. So, but that part is all, you just take other business lessons from other industries and you can apply them.
Yep.
The part for me that was probably the greatest learning curve was because, I've been in manufacturing businesses, so that space within the industry.
Yep.
And so understanding, I've been an end user of, firearms, but not, someone who understood like how they were built, how they worked, really in any level of detail.
Yep.
And so gaining that understanding to really understand then what is the user experiencing and why is, what makes a firearm continue to operate repeatedly, reliably, and extended in adverse conditions.
Yep.
And not, right? Where do tolerances matter? Where do they not matter?
No, that's absolutely, it's something just occurred to me. Jamie Whitlock is the other one that has competed, that is a CEO of a company. So I apologize, Jamie, for not remembering that to begin with. But you're exactly right. In the manufacturing process, like nuanced, I came from a company that manufactured things for the defense industry. So we were writing to a specific specification, and like tolerances were incredibly tight on what we were doing. So in manufacturing, tolerances matter, and that's how you move up the chain in creating a $500 AR versus a $3,600 AR. Is you start to improve your tolerances and you tighten things up. Manufacturing processes get more particular, and that's how you create a rifle like what you've got behind you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a good segue to the Mark I,
yep.
which is our latest endeavor, our latest launch, and that one in particular. You have a 14.5.
Yeah.
You actually have the first 14.5 in circulation. So that gun was designed as initially an 11.5.
Yep.
For a particular end user and a particular use case within DoD.
Yep.
And so probably more to follow as that becomes more well known later this year. But the tolerances were really important. The rigidity of the rail, how it has a drive lock system, which is just a fancy marketing term for how the rail and the upper connect.
Sure.
It almost feels monolithic.
Yeah, so it's like a semi-monolithic.
Yeah, so so it's very rigid. So in terms of mounting, lights and lasers and optics here, you don't have to worry about a lot of deflection.
Yep.
And they tested, that rifle went through some pretty rigorous testing.
Yep.
And objective, right, and was chosen based on the merits of its performance across the board in terms of durability, reliability, how long did it go before a stoppage, if at all, barrel life and accuracy combined, heat, how hot does it get. There were a lot of changes that we made to sort of handguard and other materials. because these things can get pretty hot.
Yeah, of course.
When
Yeah.
you're running them, especially if they're
Full auto.
running full auto
Yep.
with cans and
Yep.
et cetera. So everything we've been doing in the manufacturing and just trying to get better at what we're doing manifested itself in that rifle, which we're pretty excited about.
Yeah.
And when we made the 11.5, we knew we were going to make a 14.5
Of course. Yeah.
as well. And so once you 14.5 and you put a muzzle device on it, so now you're 16 good.
Yep.
So easy to move it out in the marketplace, and it's just a really nice length to accomplish a lot with it. So I'm excited to see you beat the heck out of it, and hear how it does.
I mean, I got to shoot it today. I got to zero it, and definitely had some fun with it. I'm excited to skirmish tomorrow. Will be the first opportunity to actually really run it. I did have an experience earlier where I was ready to throw it down on the ground. I put I ranged, and I looked at my ballistic calculator, and I figured out what my range was supposed to be, and I quickly put it away, and I dialed to it, and we were running, and I was shooting consistently. It was a decent group, but it was like 4 inches above where I was supposed to be shooting. And then I did a mag change. I went back. I looked at my calculator again. I shot it again. And same thing. It was just grouping high. And I was like, well, this fucking thing sucks. And then I looked back at my calculator, and I was supposed to dial down 0.6 instead of up. Yeah, so that was my fault. That was the Indian, not the arrow, for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we discovered that, because I don't want you sending it back already.
One of the things that you mentioned earlier was about getting into shooting, specifically with the rifle, and the fact that you've enjoyed shooting. Talk a little bit about how being a user of a product that you guys sell has influenced some of the decisions, or influenced how you feel about the product. Like, what has that enlightened you to when it comes to taking competition and then applying it to the marketplace?
Yeah, no, great question. I think that until you actually, really use your product in a lot of different applications, you can produce it, you can engineer it, you can manufacture it, and you can market it. But unless you've actually walked in the shoes of the customer,
Yeah.
It's hard to really understand. And I try really hard to listen to customers.
Yep.
That's one of the things that, I try to talk to everybody.
Yeah.
So if I'm not, one of the reasons I love going out, to tech games, otherwise people will talk.
Yeah.
You can talk to anybody about everything.
None of us will shut up.
And so you can learn a lot if you just listen. And so we try to do that as an organization. I try to do that personally.
Yep.
So coupled with, and then having an experience that I can offer helps that conversation.
Yep.
Right. Because if I've never had the experience and I'm trying to listen, take it on board, there's so much I can get. But until, I've done these hand release burpees and jumped over a box and tried to shoot sideways with it, you don't really kind of get it.
Right.
And then once you've done that, you've been through that crucible, if you will.
Yeah.
Now you kind of have a little bit more of a bond.
Yeah, for sure.
And now the other thing is, okay, people now see you differently.
Right.
Because they're like, okay, that guy's just another competitor.
Right.
And he's not even that good.
I was never known as being a great competitor. I was never known before for any reason. But I was never and still am not like a top tier competitor. I just love the sport.
You're not too bad.
I'm getting better because my shooting is getting better. I was always relatively fit, but like my shooting is getting better because I put practice into learning it. And like you've met Justin and been shooting with Justin, and he helped me tremendously. Jared helped me tremendously. There's a lot of people that helped me. Nate Drum. There's a lot of people that helped me get to where I've gotten. But it's came from putting time behind it, and I feel the same way with competing in the tactical games. Is I would never want to be a part of something that I myself wouldn't compete in or wouldn't use. Like having a product that you wouldn't use to me seems like you're just spinning your wheels. Like what the hell is the sense? Or if you're trying to sell / market a product and you don't actually understand the use case or the application, like it's a very difficult thing to do. And especially in an industry, like you said earlier, that we can't use the traditional means of marketing, right? Where at least use portions of traditional means of marketing.
That's
We're
right.
restricted in how we can do things. I've always found that a lot of the most creative people, I feel like, when it comes to being, like the ingenuity that comes from trying to figure out how do you reach markets in a place where you can't follow the traditional paths that people take. So I've enjoyed that about this space for sure. And Sun's marketing is actually something that I was always like, oh, this is pretty cool. I enjoy Mike. I enjoy the things that he would say. And I've enjoyed many funny conversations with him. He's a character for sure.
No, he is. He is. I mean, he's the heart and soul of the brand.
Yep.
That started literally in the garage.
Yep.
I mean, everyone, I started my business in the garage. Well, he really did. Right? He's one of those guys. And he says, and it's true, grew the business with a cell phone and a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how Sons got started. And he had a really, and still does, intense focus on making rifles that just functioned.
Right.
That was his only goal.
Yep.
Was it the gun, and he'd swear about it. But,
yep.
The thing absolutely has to effing work. Right? That is pound on the table, and you can picture him with the beard, and and he always wears the pirate shirt.
Yeah.
It's actually an angry patriot. Okay, just so everyone's clear, that's not a pirate on the Sons of Liberty logo. That is a patriot.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And that's where the 1776 comes in.
Right.
And Mike is actually a history buff and nut as well.
Yep.
And just a great American, but the passion of making the product, that the most important thing to him was that it was always going to work all the time.
Yep.
And then trying to do that better and better and better. And now we're in a little over 300 departments, agencies.
That's incredible.
Law enforcement kind of across the country and growing.
Yep.
So it's exciting. Yeah, he's a good guy. And back to the marketing piece, word of mouth.
Yeah.
Is so valuable.
Your reputation in this industry is incredibly important.
In the industry,
Yep.
because as you mentioned, you can't just, you can't, put an ad on the TV, right? Or otherwise, or even pay for social media,
right.
or even have Google search words. You can't buy Google search words, right? I mean, so anyway, and everything then when you're on and you're organic, you have to worry about, okay, am I kind of being throttled back a little bit? Is my audience we don't have 2 million followers, but let's just pretend that we did. There's 20,000. Are they seeing it? How many are seeing the actual post?
Right. No, it's wild, and something that Roe navigates constantly is how do we get to the people that are interested in our content? Yeah. Like I think we're at like 160 or 170,000 followers. And sometimes 2,000 of them see our posts, and you put hours and hours of effort into developing what you think is art, and then it just like shits the bed and nobody gets to see it.
Yeah, well, you guys are crushing. I mean, your Roe is amazing, not just because he's recording this podcast. But
he has the power to edit whatever he wants into this. So
make me look good, Roe.
Yeah, you don't want a dick on your forehead.
But truly, I mean, your social media presence, the marketing, it's really, really good.
I appreciate that.
And I think that, as a competitor, one of the things you do is you make people feel good about what they're doing out there. And you make fun too because you're having fun. Right. So you guys did a great one recently where there was some humor related to, some of the events at, I think that was mostly from YO.
Yeah, they all were. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's great to see, and you love to see people are out there, they're working hard, right? And even if they're not on the podium, they're still putting their all into it.
And that's exactly it. Like there are people that take themselves so seriously that they're afraid to fail. Yeah. And I feel like those people never will achieve greatness. If you're afraid to go out there and expose yourself and put yourself into a point where you've pushed so hard that you're going to fail. Yeah. And then when you do fail, you don't blame what you were doing. Instead, you find an opportunity to improve.
Correct.
And I think that's our community and our sport is filled with people like that. So it's cool that we can get great companies that have great products involved, and then we can get members of those companies out competing too. I think that's really awesome. So I'm stoked that you've been a competitor for as long as you have, and you continue with that. I think that's pretty awesome.
Trying to fail faster.
Yeah.
But it's true. The failure is the best educator.
Yeah.
That's how you learn, right? You try, you figure out what doesn't work.
Yep.
And you pivot to something else, and if you've got some tenacity, you keep after it.
Yep.
Right.
And failure, like really, what I found is if you fail twice at the same thing, doing the same thing, and not correcting off of the lesson that you learned, or at least turning it into a lesson, that's the problem. It's
correct.
Normally we see people fail, and they'll come out of it, and they'll address it, and they'll fix it, and they'll get better. And that's what I love to see about our sport specifically.
When you came out to New Hampshire, that was your first event, right?
It was, yeah. I'd done a couple of skirmishes before, but New Hampshire was the first one.
So when I walked up, I saw that giant red piece of
right. Yes. Yeah, no, I still have that.
Do you really have a scar there from it?
Yeah, no,
awesome.
It's it's one of those things. I mean, as a guy, you love scars. As a girl, you're like, oh my God, I have an E. What can I put on it, right?
So that is a trend amongst people that are real competitors in our sport. Is like they will have something happen to them, and it's a shitty situation. It doesn't work out well, but they come back and they want to push harder. I remember watching Tulsi the first time she came out and competed. And there was a low overhang, and we were doing a gauntlet style where you had to crawl under with the sled. And she fucking hit her head so hard. And I was like, she's done. She's going to quit right now. She didn't even blink. She just kept moving through. And I was like, oh, she is way freaking tougher than so she could see above it. But that's exactly it. Like, a rope burn is going, like, it sucks at the time. You might feel it a little bit when you get done with it. You're like, oh, that was shitty. But like, I bet you don't climb ropes like that anymore.
No, it's amazing. I'm actually really good at the rope climb now.
That's a good thing to learn how to do. It's a valuable life skill.
Absolutely.
All right. So the last match you just competed in was YO.
Yeah.
The team event in YO. You had Mick as your partner. Mick's freaking awesome. That was his first event out. He's been telling me he was going to compete for like a year. He finally made it out, and he had pulled his hamstring beforehand. I
know, yeah.
And he was like, "There's no way I'm backing out of this. I can't. I'm terrible Australian accent, but there was no way he was going to not do it." And you guys went out there and had a great time. I think it looked like.
No, we had so much fun. Yeah, we really had a good time. Mick was amazing.
Yep.
Great competitor, obviously.
He outshot you on pistol. I saw that.
Yeah. Okay, that was like just one stage. Everything got into balance.
It balanced out.
Everything balanced as we moved throughout the rest of the weekend. Just to be clear, I don't want to have to pull targets. Where's James Gill? But no, we had a really good time. It was. I've enjoyed every TAC games that I've competed in. This was my favorite.
Really?
Yeah, it was. And partly I think it's because I'm learning a little bit more each time. So I'm kind of figuring out some of the nuance around it. I love the team competitions. I've done 2 team competitions and one, on my own. And it's fun to have a partner out there,
for sure,
with you, kind of, rooting you on. And so you can also make fun of each other if you've got the right partner. Sometimes that doesn't go well, depending on your partner.
You're right.
But yeah, we had a great time. It was, I thought it was perfect. A combination of, you had some distance out there, long range with the rifle.
Yep.
And, good pistol, nice balance of the physical activity. Sometimes I'm pretty smoked by some of the physical stuff.
Yep.
And I'm trying to get in better shape. So maybe that's part of it.
Coming to the gym once every 2 months helps with that. So.
Well, I'm going to make it twice every 2 months. Once a month. Okay, I'm working on that.
All right, so let's step through, and I remember them, so don't worry, you don't have to. But stages specifically through the weekend, just kind of get your feeling, your opinion. But before we do that, what'd you think of YO?
YO was amazing.
That was cool, right?
Yeah, it was the first time I'd been there.
Yep.
It's actually not that far from Austin or San Antonio.
Right.
If you don't do what I did, which is
drive around the property for 6 hours.
Which is take 3 or 4 different back roads, tour a different ranch, meet some neighbors, see some wildlife, and arrive around 10 o'clock.
And then your phone doesn't work anywhere that you are out there, unless you're at like the main lodge or at the road.
No.
So as soon as you enter in, it's like, well, I guess I'm going to see if this is the right spot.
Yeah. No. So putting that aside, that's how big YO is. Right. It's just gigantic.
Yeah.
It's got an amazing range complex.
Yes.
Like really fantastic.
Yep.
I'm so impressed with it. And then terrain's great. Lots of wildlife. A lot of wildlife, which I guess is what it's known for.
Right.
People go there for some of these pretty big game, exotic, hunts.
Yep.
But also a whole area where, kind of like a mini safari.
Yep.
Where the animals are protected and you
conservation.
Can take a
Yeah.
I fed a giraffe. The
baby giraffe was cool.
The baby giraffe was cool. He was a little nervous that he didn't listen near that, but the big guy, I was able to give him some kind of tree.
They love oatmeal cookies, apparently. That's what they
Okay. Oh, yeah, we had cookies too. Yeah. So that was great. But amazing. Accommodations are fantastic.
Yeah.
People were so nice.
Yep.
Really great spot. I mean, I can't wait to go back to YO again.
Yeah, no, we're definitely going to continue putting on events there every year. The team event, I think, is perfect for that place.
Yeah.
You guys left. Did you guys get to see the concert on Saturday night?
Did not see the concert.
You guys were pretty smoked at the end of the day.
We might have needed some rest.
And then Sunday, I know you guys left a little bit early because everybody had to get back to work, but we did a pig roast Sunday night up at the Benny too, which was really cool. So we love any opportunity that we have, which is not very often because normally we're in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Like getting a pig roast and, an hour outside of the city isn't generally something that happens well or is cost effective to make happen. So there we can always do some cool stuff like that. So I was very happy that we got to do that. For stages, so you were in the same group that I was in. I competed, Amanda competed. We had we'll talk a little bit about that, but I got to go through two of the stages, so I know how two of them went. We'll start at stage number one. That was the bike row. So basically the stage started out. You had a minute. First partner started on the bike. You had a minute to accumulate as many calories on the bike as you could.
Yep.
And then you swapped partners. Partner 2 went onto the bike while partner 1 immediately went up to the firing line and shot rifle at 370 on paper. It was like an 11 by 19 sheet of paper. And then while partner 2 was done with their minute of work, they went to the firing line. Partner 1 came back and accumulated calories on the rower.
Yep.
And then they transitioned firing spots. Partner 1 went to the firing line and shot pistol 17 to 20 yards at various shapes, and then partner 2 was on the rower and then accumulating calories. So it was kind of this alternating back and forth between an erg and firing positions.
Right.
So you've obviously been on ergs here and at your other gym. What did you find this weekend with like striking a balance? Like, what was your strategy going into it, and how did you actually perform?
Yeah, so the strategy on that first stage was it was the first one.
Yep.
And I knew we had a lot of work to do throughout the day. So wanted to leave some gas in the tank.
Sure.
And so we got on, and then we both talked about starting to sort of wind down in the last 10 seconds. So you have that minute when we're at like 50 seconds, start getting ready for transition.
Yep.
Allowing your heart rate to start to come down a little bit already and be ready to transition into the rifle shooting position. Since on this stage, I would say probably Mick and I were probably performed better physically than we did on the shooting aspect of it.
Got it. Yep.
This was the one where he did beat me in the pistol. So, just to give him those. He has been training a lot though. He's come away a long way.
He's got a range membership down in Houston.
Right.
And
he's got the Mantis. He dry fires every day.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's a personal coach,
Yep.
trainer, masseuse, the whole 9 yards. But we had, because for us, we wanted to be sure that we got into the position with the rifle, because we were both a little nervous about that, because neither one of us have spent tons of time, on the rifle and
Yep.
getting the right eye relief and being out there, and then just being able to, and there was wind and there was distance.
Yep.
And so the strategy was work hard, but then slow down towards the end, get time, transition, and then move quickly.
That's awesome.
I think we did that part pretty well.
Yep.
I think we both of us acknowledged that we probably maybe operated around 80%.
Cool.
We could have gone. We probably should have gone maybe 85, 90
Yep.
on both of those. But from there we went to the run.
Yep.
And we had good energy for that. and we actually went straight into the run. So maybe with only like a half an hour, exchange over
Oh,
time,
wow. Okay. Yeah.
ran the run because, it was because of the heats and the way it was set up
Yep.
and the format, it allowed for, and I thought this was great, very flexible. Competitors could start really when they were ready within a given heat.
Yep.
And so, that mile was a long mile.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to say, I know we're into the next stage. I'm ready.
Yeah.
But
So
that
stage
mile,
2.
So it was a run.
Yep. It was a ruck.
And okay. All right. So everybody ran it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was a ruck. So you had 30 pounds?
30 pounds for men.
30 pounds. And, well, of course, I'm in your division, or we're shooting with you. So there's a bunch of other guys that are like elite, at competing in men's and elite. And so we're watching these guys. And so we're like, oh man, I just did it in like, the 7.5 minutes. And I'm going into it thinking I'm like maybe 12 minutes or something like that. And, but anyway, we did okay, but you went up the hill and then down. And I literally was thinking to myself, God, the turnaround flag should be right here. Should be right here. And we kept going. Am I in the right? Am I still going the right way?
Yeah.
And then finally I saw it. I was like, wow. Then you turn around and it's uphill.
That's uphill.
Right.
What it seemed like to me was the first, so it was a mile run, so 1,600 meters. So we had like a 400 meter uphill in the beginning that was kind of steep.
Yeah.
And then you had about the remainder, the 1,200 meter that was kind of like a downhill, more gradual decline. You went around the turnaround, and then you had to climb back up that gradual incline now. And then you had the opportunity to sprint it out at the end if you had anything left in your legs. But most people did not.
No, it was tough on the back. On the way up, I was cranking, turned around, and I was like, okay, well, when no one's watching, you're like, okay, well, I can slow my pace a little bit because I know as soon as I can see the finish line,
you're gonna haul ass.
There's nothing you can do, but you got to go all in at that point. Which is a nice way to finish, frankly. And encouraged us, and we ended up doing okay.
It wasn't long enough where you didn't get a ruck burn on the bottom of your back, did you?
Yeah, no. I mean, I tightened it. I put everything.
Good.
Did all the straps.
A lot of times, because of if the weight isn't set into the center of the bag and it's just kind of on the bottom, it'll wear on your lower back, rubbing back and forth, and that is gnarly. You don't know it till you get in the shower that night, and you know it very quickly when you get in there. So that was stage 2, and then we had a relatively quick. So that was on a separate part of the ranch than where the rest of the stages were.
Correct.
So we were up kind of away from everything. We got in our vehicles, we all went down, and we had to go take care of the dogs and had to do a bunch of stuff before we could get down there. So we got down there, we missed the brief, and then Amanda immediately went into the stage, and her and Lauren Khalil, who you guys all know, they were working on the stage together. Lauren was shooting and is a terrible rifle shooter, so just kept missing. So I'm blaming Lauren. I already told her this. Amanda's injury is your fault, Lauren. Amanda was doing these burpee box get overs, which were the penalty for your partner's missed shots. And she came down just kind of awkwardly and tore her. And the funny thing is, it was only she was stepping down. So it was maybe like a 16 to 20 inch descent. It wasn't like she free fell off a 6 foot tall structure.
But I mean, all right, just for everyone who hasn't done this before. Yeah. I mean, when you say burpee over box, I think people are thinking, okay, the box is, I don't know where you can see, but the box is maybe 2 feet. Now, this box is like 4 feet.
They are 4 feet tall.
This is a 4 foot tall box that you got to go up, over, down the other side, do a burpee.
Right.
So, Amanda is not that tall.
No, she's a little human.
Okay, so she's,
she's 5 foot.
Just getting up over that box is something.
Yeah.
Coming down on the other side, so they're in,
For sure. She and admittedly, she had been getting work done on her calf and, had been having some pains in her legs before. So I don't know if this just was the final straw that kicked it over, but she ended up tearing her ACL and then flipped her meniscus over. So I immediately grabbed her and we left and went to the ER and we're kind of gone for the weekend. But you guys carried on in that stage. So that stage was, if I remember correctly, 8 reps of bag over bar. at the appropriate weight for your division, and you could accomplish that as a team kind of any way that you wanted to. One partner then went to the firing line, and you had a rifle firing sequence out of 90-degree barricade.
Yeah, they were all so they were all 90s.
Yep.
3 slots in the 90s.
And it was maybe like an 8-inch piece of steel at 100 yards, or do you remember anything like that?
Yeah, no, that's about right.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was, it was definitely, you could definitely hit it, but you could absolutely miss it.
For sure.
And Mick sounds like, it might be Mick and Lauren went to the same rifle training school because I did a lot of burpees.
So then you're gassed when you go up there to shoot. Yeah.
So I know that I got more burpees. I didn't tell him when we were there, but Mick, I did more burpees than me. On that one. That was a tough one.
So we ended up kind of, I don't know, I'm sure a smarter mind would have thought of this beforehand, but we kind of fell into you had to do your partner's misses work
right.
at an event in Sierra Vista this year. And when I saw it and I watched the teams do it, I would see the frustration in the partner doing the run.
Right.
And I loved it. I was like, oh, this is going to, like, we're going to get called into somebody's divorce proceedings for sure from doing it. Like, if there's a husband-wife pair here, they're going to, this is... Yeah, so I thought that was very cool. You guys then went to stage 4 after that. Which one was stage 4? I don't remember off the top of my head.
Was that the just the shoot and move, the
Rifle aggregate?
Oh, the rifle aggregate. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, got it.
It was 2 mag change 2.
Razzle dazzle.
Razzle dazzle.
Got it.
I think Razzle dazzle was next.
Awesome
for us on that one.
How did you perform on that one?
Terribly.
Really?
I'm exaggerating. It wasn't that bad.
What?
I was the first one to go. And it was.
Were you the first one in the partner to go to?
I was the very first one to go.
Yep. Okay.
And and it's when you get the brief and you're like, okay, I'm paying attention to most of it, but I know I'm going to watch like 3 or 4 people do it first, and then by the time I get up, I'll really understand it. So I listened to the brief, and I was like, pretty sure I got it. But then she's like, she's like, okay, we're ready. And she was very,
Yeah, Tina's, yeah.
Tina is like no nonsense, right?
Right.
So she's running it.
Yep.
And so I'm like, great, are you ready? Yeah, I'm ready. So we go, and, it's rifle, you shoot rifle 222.
Yep.
And you got to move up and then shoot pistol 222.
Right.
And you're mag changing every 2 rounds.
Right. So it's two shots. Rifle is headbox only, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And then you mag change, moving out of position into kind of the free space between 2 boxes that are separated by 10 yards. So 2 shots, headbox, the target right in front of you. You move out. You're in the next one. You're taking 2 shots of the headbox there after you've completed a mag change, and then it's a second mag change, and then you can shoot once you're in the far box.
Correct.
Yep.
And then there was some detail about what box. You had to go diagonal.
When you were transitioning to pistol, you had to cross diagonally. So you were forcing, if you shot rifle, say I'm left-handed, so naturally, and you're left-handed too, with both weapon systems, I don't remember.
Just the left on the rifle, right on the pistol.
So this worked out really well for you then, if you did it the right way. So with a left-handed shooter, when I'm transitioning for rifle, I'm going to tilt my rifle to the left and I'm going to reload.
Yep.
So if I have to run cross, it's going to be the opposite way when I'm running pistol. Is that right? No.
Yeah. So what I did, I think I did it what should have been the right way, which was I started in the far right box, right, because I'm rifle. So I'm boom, boom, I'm up, I'm reloading, I'm moving back and over.
Yep.
And then I'm dropping, and then what I wanted to do was one straight ahead,
right?
Because then I would go the other way with the pistol,
right.
And so that is what I did. and then when I got there, I thought to myself, I'm not sure I'm allowed to do this. And so I asked Tina, and of course she said, well, I can't tell you. And so I said, well, that's enough. That's all I need to know. So I ran over to the other box, and then went that way. But so because of all of that, I was a little bit tight on time.
Where did you say you went for your master's again? Is it Stanford?
Yeah, I was smarter before I joined the industry.
So, and then the cool part about that was you gave your partner their first mag. So after you completed your firing
correct.
sequence,
So
you
then
ran
back, gave Mick his mag, and then he started. And,
Yep.
and so that one was probably the one we could have made the greatest improvement on if we just simply ran it again.
Yep.
Knowing it a little bit better.
And if only the people at this fine organization published those shooting standards beforehand, gave you the opportunity to do those, that would be, man, those guys would be nicer if they did that.
Well, so there's this Wi-Fi. There's also this habit that that I might have related to. Yeah, I'm going to do that event. I'm going to do that event. I'm going to do that event. Hey, Nick, I didn't sign up for the event. Can I still do it?
You're lucky your partner had signed up.
Yeah, of course, Mick had signed us
up.
So we were good to go. Yep. So he had taken care of all of that. But I might have been a little bit last minute on that.
Non-committal, just show up last minute and figure it out. That's fine.
I knew we were going to have fun.
Yeah. All right, so that was the end of day one. Day two, you guys came back. Where did you start day two? Do you remember?
Day two, we started. Let's see. We did 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yep.
On day two.
Do you remember what 5 was?
5. I want to say that 5 was the Yeti cooler carry one.
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
So
Sand to the beach, we called it.
Sand to the beach. Yeah, that was great. That was fun. It was good. I mean, so Mick and I both could do the farmer's carry, and with the weight that we had,
super tall and the same height,
and we're the same height, so that helps out a lot. That's one where you don't want to be offset.
You don't want to be the short one.
No. And so I did have the inside track, and so he had to do more. So I was like, kind of wait, come on, Mick, come on. But we had fun on that one. That was good. And then you ran around each time with the cooler, and then you shot. So
you had a 50-pound Yeti loadout bucket in one hand, and then your division I think was maybe 150 pounds in the cooler.
Yeah.
And when we saw that, like, have you ever been to the beach and brought a cooler to the beach? It's the worst fucking thing in the entire world. I don't know why that sucks so bad, but it sucks. So as soon as I saw those giant coolers, I was like, oh, this could be a miserable implement to use in workout.
Yeah, no, it was. So mission accomplished.
Good.
Well done. And also creative, and hadn't seen that one before.
Yeah.
I hadn't practiced that at the gym directly, at least. So that was that one.
And that one we shot, do you remember the rifle was maybe about 50 yards?
Yep.
Paper targets. And I think pistol on that was single-handed.
Yeah, you had to, so you went strong hand, or you went 2 strong weak.
Yep.
I think on that one.
Yeah.
And then that was that. And then on the rifle it was those little
triangles.
The little
the rectangles.
Yeah, the little rectangles that are tilted.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Those are pretty challenging.
Yes. Yeah. When if you're shooting 90 and it's going towards the angle that you're shooting, they're a little bit more forgiving.
Sure.
Then as soon as you switch sides, it's giving you way less real estate to work with.
Yeah. But that one the barricade was more forgiving because you didn't have to go 100% 90 on that. It was either side, and then there were 45s.
Yep.
That was fun. That was a good one. Our best one was actually, I think, the next one.
Okay.
Which was this rifle and pistol steel.
With the over the wall, where you had to go over the 3.
Yes. Yeah. So you went up over the wall. I think there might also been burpee penalties. Probably. I don't, tell me if I'm wrong.
No. I think on this one there was 3 cross members, and your team had 2 bags, and you had to get the bags and yourselves over the cross members, and then at the end was a 6-foot wall.
Yep.
And you had to get the bag up and over, and then you guys went up and over, and then you would shoot the firing sequence and then crawl back underneath.
Yes. But was that steel or paper?
I didn't get there.
Okay, you didn't get that one. So we did that one, and one of these, which I felt maybe it was that one, but you had pistol that was maybe a 6-inch plate.
Yep.
Out at like 15.
I think that was no, because we had two sets of this one had a target at I think 120 yards and then 160 yards. It had two separate rifle targets.
Oh, yeah. That was not great.
No, okay.
That was not great.
I thought this was your best stage.
No, the one that's different. The one I'm talking about is the one with the steel.
That was the one with the bag over the bar, and
must be 7, or one of them was 6, one of them was 7. But,
got it. Yeah.
But the one where you had the two different, no, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That one, the physical on that wasn't bad.
Sure.
The shooting was challenging.
Yeah. I think we let you guys go prone for that shot too.
We did, yeah. Did go prone. It, you know, amazingly, it was still challenging.
Gil always says prone is the easiest rifle shooting position. Sometimes I find supported barricade positions where I can get into a good solid position are easier for me because I feel like when I'm on my belly sometimes I'm like breathing so heavy that my rifle's moving more than it would if I'm just like compact and I can't really move.
I'm with you on that.
Okay.
So where I am on the rifle is my best is in a barricade where I can get into a sort of a seating position.
Yep.
And get my back one on the like you've shown
me
how to get the points of contact there and then get tight into it. That is my best performance.
Yep.
Prone would be second to that.
Yeah, sure.
But still, you're up there and you're smoked and you're and you're magnified, right?
Right.
So it's
and then you're shooting at other targets. And
I did that.
Did you?
Yeah,
that was nice.
Well, it was I shot our close target versus our far target.
Oh, so and I think the way it worked was you had to put if you had each had 4, and they had to go between the two.
Maybe we got lucky. I don't know.
So you didn't take photos of your targets after the stage? No.
No, that one we missed.
We did. Well, we're going to pull them up here. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so after that stage, I think you guys went to the 2-gun stage. Was the stage 7?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you remember that one?
That was oh my god, that was so much fun.
Okay.
Yes, that was
the jungle run down the trail.
Loved it.
Yeah, good. Okay,
loved that stage.
Yeah. And Mick shot really well on that stage too.
He shot great. So we were strategic on who was shooting what.
Yep.
You gave him his, made it really clear.
Yep.
Okay, on the mag drop, you got to make that shot.
Yep.
You know, because if you're gonna reload a mag and drop it again and do it all over,
right?
So basically,
you're gonna waste time.
I guess for the audience, you had a pistol array, which included both paper and steel, down sort of the right of an alley. And then you went to the holster and then the partner went down left with the pistol. And then both were, cleared out and then went up to a barricade to shoot targets out there.
Yep.
But before you transition, which is really smart and a great way to do it, to know you were clear and could move quickly, and so the RSO you dropped your mag.
Yep.
And for your last shot
on a clearing shot,
essentially on the stop plate, if you will.
Yep.
And so, but if you missed that shot, then you would have to reload another mag. Rack it, drop the mag again, and take the shot again. So you have a lot of wasted time. If you didn't make that shot.
Bending over to pick that up is not a fun thing to do with a plate carrier.
As well. But we really liked that stage.
Good.
Actually, the Texas Star went really well for me. I just got it. Just waited for it.
You've got experience shooting a Texas Star.
I did do that once or twice. I did have that one in my favor.
Yeah.
And so we got through, because some people didn't even make it to the rifle.
Oh, no. I saw a lot.
Didn't make it through. At least in our division.
Yep.
Right? And so we got everything through. We got into the rifle. The rifle targets were challenging because they were little white plates in a background that sort of blended in. And so you really had to know where they were. And this is where kind of the community comes in because Jose from San Antonio PD, their SWAT team, he had, he's a great competitor, and he had an armband where he knew where everything was. And he's like, here, use this. It's like, he's kind of sweaty.
Yeah.
I'm like, awesome.
So Mick was left in the dark and you knew where every target was.
Far left, Mick, far left.
And everything's backwards in Australia, so he was probably going.
It was like the toilet flushes backwards. I mean, everything. So, but on that one, both partners had to hit each plate before you could move to the next plate, which I thought was great. And then you could do it any way you wanted to, but like you could shoot either or one person could keep shooting until they hit it.
Yep.
But I think the best way for us anyway was to go either or, because while he's taking a shot, I'm getting ready for my shot, so I can break my shot as soon as he either hits or misses.
Yep.
And then while I'm shooting, he's resetting if you miss to do the next one or moving to the next one.
No, you're absolutely right.
We had so much fun on that stage. It might have been partially because there was no physical activity, but it was a lot of fun.
And then you guys, like you said, you guys both had obligations and things you needed to do the next day, so you didn't get to do the physical floater. But that's tall guy centric. You guys would have dominated that one.
Yeah.
You could have just stepped over the top of the yoke.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have been any issues. That was your key to the podium right there. It said that you didn't stick around.
I'm pretty sure we would have placed it if it wasn't for that. I'm going to,
go into the practice score app and see if you can figure it out.
I'm going to tell Mick that, actually I was on a podcast. Turns out we would have won if you only would have stayed.
That's hilarious. Any other feedback for the weekend or anything else that you learned or saw that you liked, you didn't like? What give us something that was that you noticed about the weekend?
The in some of the different events, you have to move a lot in between the stages.
Yep.
In this one, you had just a couple that were offset,
right?
Which was no big deal.
Yep.
But then everything else was like very much together.
Yeah.
And so there was in between stages, and everyone was there, and you had the food, you had food trucks, you had that coffee was amazing.
Yep.
That coffee place was insane.
Very good. Yes.
Yeah. And so everything was there that you could have wanted. So it was a really nice, easy place to hang in between the stages. That thing ran so smoothly.
Did it? I didn't get to watch any of it.
Yeah, no, it was so kudos to Palacios.
Yeah, and Gil and they
Gil
did something
and the whole
awesome.
team.
Yeah.
And everything ran really smoothly.
That's good.
So you didn't feel like there was a lot of downtime or anything like that.
No, that's good. And the team format allows us more leeway because we have more people out there competing, or we have the same amount of people out there competing, but the schedule breaks down where there's less slots that need to be filled. So instead of like our typical matches where we have 300 competitors out there, that's 300 individual time slots, or 280 usually with teams. I think we had 100 and we'll say 120 teams and then like 26 individuals. Now you're only talking about 150 time slots. Yeah. It allows us a lot of opportunities to do longer stages and to have more things going on. So I love the team events. They're absolutely my favorite ones that we do. Are you going to come out and compete again this year?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You'll let me know just about 12 hours before the match starts?
No, I'm going to do better.
Okay.
I'm going to, before dinner tomorrow night, I will have signed up.
All right, perfect.
For one or two more events.
Yeah.
We'll do nationals for sure.
Great.
Is where it is. And there's another team event. When's the next team event?
Utah, I think it's September. There you go. Ro got it. September.
Okay, so I'm going to do
August or September.
I'll do that event.
Who's your partner going to be? Do you know yet?
I think it's going to be a guy named Scotty Peterson, who is on our team at Suns.
Oh, nice.
Liberty.
Okay. Yeah.
And he can shoot very well with a rifle.
Nice.
But he might have to do a little bit of work between now and there on the physical.
You need to bring Sean out. Sean's the best rifle shooter in the country. Maybe just bring him.
Yeah, well, I mean, he can shoot pistol too.
Can you?
He's a grandmaster.
I did not know that.
On the pistol.
That's incredible. Yeah.
So yeah, but Scotty jumped the line. And,
I'm going to take Sean.
He's like, I'll do it. I was making fun of his physique a little bit, and he's like, he's just a really sturdy guy.
Yeah.
Not really like overweight, like
right.
Just a guy you probably wouldn't want to get in a scuffle with.
Yeah.
And but he's like, well, I'll do the next TAC games with you.
That's awesome.
I said, great, we're in.
That's great.
So we'll
Mike said he was going to do one too.
He has been working out.
Has he really?
So yeah, he's been getting healthy. Is
he still smoking?
Well, he's given up drinking entirely, as you know.
Yeah.
And but he does still smoke.
Yeah, the Green Dragon is that's got a place like that. It's cool to sit out there and smoke a cigarette, I guess.
Yeah.
So the only other thing would be we can get you guys out for Sniper Challenge if you want to come bet stages for Sniper Challenge. It's at YO.
Well, that would be something for Sean and Scott.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'd love to get them out there for that.
Is their bailiwick.
They competed last year. Sean competed, but he didn't have his typical partner with him. I don't remember who his partner was at our Sniper Challenge last year.
Okay.
And it was like incredibly close between first and second, and they came in second. And then there was a little bit of the guys that won had an optic that they shouldn't have had, and then there was some talk about that. So we've changed our rules, and it was funny. This guy came up, and I didn't know who the guy was.
Tracking point?
No. That's cool. That's a great idea. No, he basically had an MPVO, and he's like, "Hey, this is the only optic I have. Can I still shoot it?" And we require the secondary shooter to only have a max of 10x magnification. So he taped his optic at 10x. And in my ignorance, I didn't quite think like this was going to make a difference, but having a parallax adjustment on there allows you to basically change the performance of that optic. So there was a little bit of tomfoolery in that, and but it's done now, and it's something that won't happen again at another Sniper Challenge. I promise you that.
There you go.
So we'd love to have you guys out there, and we can get you back out to YO, hang out there for a couple days. October 11th, which is my birthday and anniversary. So
we're there
both of those
for sure.
I think it's the 11th and 12th out at YO. So quick jaunt from San Antonio.
Weather will be
get up there.
really nice then.
It'll be beautiful.
Yeah,
we were lucky this past weekend. I thought the weather was pretty nice.
It was great. It was great. I mean, it was warm, but not as warm as it could be.
Right.
It was bearable. It wasn't bad.
So I think we'll be back at YO around that same time of year again next year, and hope and pray that the weather turns out just as good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any other closing remarks before we go?
Just thanks for having me on the podcast. Of course, I appreciate it.
We appreciate you being here.
And Jamie, it's you and me, buddy. we got to team up.
There you go.
The CEO team.
Yeah, you and Jamie Whitlock. Because he pulled a hamstring.
Yeah,
I think he faked it like almost immediately.
No, he was through 4 or 5 stages. They already did the run and everything else.
That's right. That's right.
He was on the run, I think maybe.
He did. He heard it on the run. It was one of those like.
He was in pain.
Yeah,
I can vouch for him.
Genuinely was.
I can vouch for him.
He's a tough guy. He's come to the gym many times. He's been to skirmish. He puts work in, so I know he really wanted to do well, and it was cool to see him out there. It's always anybody that is involved in the sport. It's cool to see them get involved as a competitor in the sport as well. So thank you for that, and thank you for being at Suns and helping that company, because they're incredible. So we're excited to see what happens with you at the helm.
Yeah, no, thanks, Nick. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Yeah.